Hey everybody, I'm Chris, and this is my channel Chesapeake Chris. Thanks for stopping by. This week's video is going to be the 5 modifications, hacks, and things I purchased for my kayak that were the best things I did. They are the 5 things that make fishing easier and more enjoyable. You're going to want to see some of these, I guarantee it, so stick around. So one of the most enjoyable things about having a fishing kayak, well, I mean, the most enjoyable thing is actually going out fishing, getting away from everybody and enjoying it. But probably the second most enjoyable thing is to make modifications to it, to get it set up exactly how you want it for fishing. It's a lot of fun. There's a million okay, maybe there's not a million, but there's a lot of YouTube videos out there of modifications and hacks you can make to your kayak. I've done a lot of modifications to mine. I've purchased some stuff for it. A lot of stuff were hacks that I did myself.
Enough jibber jabber. Let's see the hacks.
Hack or modification number 1. The first one is a purchase that I made, and I bought it from Amazon. Just to let you know, like 98% of the things I buy from my kayak I get off Amazon. But the first one is this. It's a telescopic paddle. It extends out that far. It's about 3 feet. It collapses down like that. I can stick it right here next to my seat. It's out of the way, and it's very useful for when I'm fishing and I'm just floating and I don't feel like dealing with my big 8-foot paddle all the time. I get this out, I lay it in my kayak, kind of just like that, if you can see it, and then whenever I want to adjust my kayak, I just take this paddle or 2 on each side. It'll turn me whichever way I need to go. This is one of the best things I've bought for my kayak. It is so convenient, and as you can see, it stores easily and doesn't take up much room. Hack or modification number 2. This second hack modification is actually a hack, and I'm pretty proud of this one. I haven't seen this one on YouTube anywhere, but the second one is this little piece right here, and I'm going to give you a better view of it. This is actually a PVC sink tail piece, and I cut it to length. I painted it orange and I mounted it outside of my kayak. Now I'm going to show you why I like this and what I use this for. Okay, let's say you're sitting in your kayak in the seat there and you catch fish and you bring them into the kayak. Well, then the question is, what do you do with your rod? Well, you can either put it in your rod holder, which if you notice, if I put it in my rod holder, it hangs way up here by the time it gets to the tip of the rod up there, or you can lay it across your lap and take a chance on it falling in the water or whatnot. Well, what I do is when I get a fish into the kayak, I take my rod and I stick it in this PVC tailpiece, just like that. It holds it right there. Now you can see the fish would be hanging right there. I mean, I'd probably have him in my hand, but now he's right there. The tip of my rod is right there, real close to me. So I can take the hook out of the fish, not worry about having extra tension on the line and maybe getting a hook in my finger or whatever. But it just makes it so much more convenient to take the fish off the hook when he's not being pulled tight, you know, when the line isn't being pulled tight because the tip of your rod is way out here. So basically what this thing is like, say, it's an 1.5-inch PVC sink drain tail piece. I painted it orange and I wrapped some tape around it, some foam tape. It's this vinyl foam weather seal tape, and it's the kind of foam tape you may put on the rails of your truck, the bed rails of the bed of your truck before you put a cap on it. And it's just this tape, I don't know, it's about 1 inch wide, and it's foam and it's sticky on one side. I wrapped some of that around it, And then I put a 2-hole conduit clamp on it. I think it's 1.5 inches. And that makes it nice and tight so it doesn't move, it doesn't go anywhere. But I put my rod in there. The very end of the handle, if you got a long handle, may get into the water. It doesn't matter if your fishing rod handle gets a little wet. But now the tip of your rod is real close to you and the fish will hang much closer to you. It's so much easier to deal with the fish, get him off the hook. Like I say, you don't have line pulling tight that may run the hook in your finger after you get them off. I just love that. Like I say, I've never seen it anywhere. That's one of the best things I've done on my kayak to make fishing safer and easier. Hack or modification number 3. Okay, my third hack is a hack that a lot of people do. I want to raise my seat a little bit so that I sit up a little higher in my kayak. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there for raising your seat. I did the same thing a lot of people do. I'll show you here. In the back of my seat, what I did is some people use a 2x4. I used a 2x2. So I laid a 2x2 in there. I notched it out for where these buckles are on the straps of my seat so that they wouldn't hit. So I made some notches in it. But I laid it in there. Once again, I put a little piece of foam tape on that end and down on this end. That way this part of my seat lays right on it. So that raises my seat just about 2 inches because that's a 2x2. It fits in there. I cut it to length. It fits in there perfect. It stays put. It raises the back of my seat. And I wanted to raise the front of my seat, but I just wanted to raise it a little bit. And the reason I wanted to raise it is I had this real skinny little tackle box that I wanted to slide underneath my seat and it wouldn't quite fit. It's got stuff in it I use the most, like swivels and stuff like that. But so just to raise it up a little bit, I needed to get my seat attaches right there with a couple screws. I needed to get a couple pieces of something underneath there. So I got this white vinyl and I cut it and I drilled holes in it, got longer screws, and I put 2 pieces of it under the plate there for my seat. So it raises my seat just about, I don't know, maybe 1/2 inch. Now if you're wondering what I used to do that with, this sounds crazy, but I had some of this vinyl lattice laying around. I used that. I took, and if you let that stuff out in the sun and let it get warm, it'll get really warm and you can cut it pretty easily with just a pair of tin snips. So I cut a couple pieces of that with tin snips to size, drilled holes in them, bought some longer screws, stuck them under there and screwed them down. And you know, they're great. You don't have to worry about water bothering them, and it raised my seat just about 1/2 inch. So now I can slide my skinny little tackle box under my seat. So that's number 3. Hack or modification number 4. Once again, a lot of guys do it. It's my anchor trolley. It is awesome. And I bought it once again off Amazon. There is I'll put a link in the description, a video of a gentleman that shows you the proper way to put one on. But yeah, I bought an anchor trolley. That cheap rope that came with it, I took it off and replaced it with good paracord. But I mounted my anchor trolley. I bought a couple extra pad eyes because it only came with 2. So I bought a couple extras, put one there and put one there so that the ropes stay in it. And I mounted it. It came with the pulleys. And yeah, just by pulling this rope right here, I can adjust my anchor, whether it's deployed in the middle, in the front, in the back, whatever I want. Once again, if you're anchoring and fishing, it's awesome. I'm going to include this anchor trolley in a future video on safety because I see a lot of people use retractable clotheslines like to do their anchor cord, and that's fine, but you really should have a quick release for your anchor. In other words, I got a quick release right here. If I just pull down on this, it opens up, my anchor cord will come right off and my anchor goes away. That way, if it gets really windy, really rough or something, and I need to release my anchor really quick, I just pull this flag. And of course, I got a float on my anchor line so that my anchor will not be lost forever. I can go back and get it. But that anchor trolley is pretty awesome. I use it all the time when I'm fishing and I'm sitting and I'm just fishing with bait or throwing lures. Highly suggest you get an anchor trolley. Keeps your kayak in the position you want it all the time. And the cleat that came with my anchor trolley when I bought it, I didn't like that style of cleat. It's the kind where you have to make multiple wraps around the teeth to hold the line. I didn't like all that slack in my line, so what I did is my anchor, like I say, is down on this line. This is the line I pull to adjust it. Well, they make these style cleat here that will not it'll let the line slide one direction but not the other. Well, I just mounted two of them. So when I deploy my anchor and get my trolley where I want it, I just put it in both of those. Now, this line won't pull this way or this way. It's not going anywhere. And then when I want to pull up anchor, I just pull the paracord out of those two cleats, pull my top rope so that that circle of my anchor trolley is back here, pull my anchor up. Once again, done. I like this style of cleat, mounting two of them, a lot better than the one that came with the trolley. And last but not least, hack or modification number 5 is my Outrigger Pontoon hack. Now once again, there's a whole bunch of videos on how you can do these. This is how I did mine. First of all, I took a piece of 1.25 PVC and I mounted it to my kayak. And I did it by using, once again, a conduit strap and some short bolts, and I bolted it into my device rail. But then, just for added security, I bought some of these conduit straps. I think they call them mineral wax. And I drilled a hole here in my kayak, and I had to take this rod holder out to get to the back side of it, but those are all stainless steel too. I bolted this clamp to my kayak, and I put a big fender washer on the top side and on the bottom side, and then I put a lock nut on it. So that piece of PVC is held on each side by that 2-hole strap and that mineral wax strap. Then you get yourself some 1 PVC, and it will slide right inside that 1.25. So I took 2 pieces that when I push this thing all the way in on each side, they touch each other in the middle. And I cut them, and then I glued some fittings on it, and I reduced it down to, I believe that's 3/4, and put a T on it. And these are nothing but styrofoam crab or lobster buoys, and they'll slide right over that 3/4. Put a cap on each end. Once again, I painted everything just to make it look nice. I put a little bit of orange pool noodle on here, once again, just to make it look nice. But then I drilled some 1/4-inch holes in this, and once again I use these latch pins. So what I can do is I can pull this latch pin out, and then I can slide this thing out. And I drilled a hole to right about there where now I can put the latch pin back in it, or I can pull it out this far and put, so it's adjustable, 3 different lengths. I got 3 different holes. One of them's there, one of them's there. That's where it's at when I keep it all the time. What I normally do is I just pull it out to the first hole, which is right about there. So I pull both of these things out that far. I got another little hole, so I can drop this pin back down in there. And by pulling these things out, I don't know, 8 inches on each side, it makes your kayak so much more stable. Like, I don't stand up in my kayak, but you know, like I say, I fish out around the bay, the Chesapeake Bay. It gets windy, it gets wavy. I don't want to tip over. So these things actually, they're awesome. They work great. They're very cheap to make. I painted everything, make it look nice. I slide them all the way back in like that and drop the pin in when I want to store it. But if I want to, I can pull them things all the way out to about there on each side. And it gets me like an extra foot and a half on each side. So it widens the footprint of my kayak by 2 to 3 feet. Once again, they're light. Everything's PVC, styrofoam, nothing rusts. Clamps are all stainless steel. But I figure it does not put too much stress on my kayak by having it secured there to that rail and bolting it through with a big fender washer right there on my kayak. Once again, works great. There's a lot of videos, a lot of different ways to do it. That's how I did mine.
Those were some awesome hacks.
So I hope you enjoyed this video. You know the drill. Subscribe, like, share this video. Thanks for stopping by and giving it a view. See you on the next video.